Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I prepared another interesting game for you that was played between two chess amateurs. This game was provided to me by Habib, a player with the white pieces in this game. He decided to share a casual game he played with a good friend of his. This was a 20-minute game, and the opening was the Pirc's defense. So I would like to thank Habib for sharing his game with me. And this was a pretty interesting game with a lot of interesting variations and possibilities. Both players made some mistakes, but they played solid chess, especially White, who made only one blunder during the whole game, which was that was what Stockfish evaluated, and Black also played well right about till the end of the middle game. So Black was doing fine until then, and afterwards he made more mistakes, but nonetheless it was a solid game with a fine. Both players demonstrated fine styles, and the checkmate is also beautiful. So I hope you like the game. Let's begin with the game. So it starts with d4. Black replies. Both players develop their pieces. Now it seems we will have an Indian game, but it quickly transposes to Pir's defense, right about now. So this is the Pir's defense, the classical variation. Now Habib plays the principal move. He develops his light squared bishop and strengthens up the center. Black castles. White decides to castle also. Now Black plays knight to c6. Habib plays h3. His idea is to stop the annoying ping that could happen if the bishop ever comes on g4. So a fine move. Black now plays the best move in the position. White takes the pawn. Black retakes. And now Habib develops his other bishop. So a good opening play by both players. Now Black plays maybe a move that is a bit suspicious. It isn't a really bad move, but it isn't the best move also. Black's idea here was probably to put his knight on f4 and to pressure White's light squared bishop, and to eventually take this piece, because this is a very important piece for White. And Habib now stopped his opponent's plans. He recognized what is the idea that Black is having here, and he played a prophylactic move, knight to e2, stopping the idea I was just talking to you about. So a fine move by White. Now Black decided to push his f-pawn, which is always a bit dangerous, because you weaken your king's position and you open up your king. I wouldn't recommend this move for Black in this position, but okay, Stockfish doesn't say this is a mistake. White took the pawn, because White cannot allow this pawn to ever be pushed on f4, because then Black would have a very strong pawn chain in the center, and Black would pressure this bishop. So White of course took the pawn. Black replied by taking with the bishop. And now in this position Habib has a chance to play a really beautiful move, a move that takes tempo away from Black. Unfortunately, Habib played bishop to g5, which is a little mistake according to Stockfish, nothing terrible, but he had a better move in this position. Instead of playing bishop to g5, better was knight to g5, because now you pressure this e6 square with your knight, and if the knight ever comes here, he will fork these two very important pieces, and probably he will also take this bishop eventually, which is really important for Black. It's a really important defensive piece. So this was a better move, because now you force Black to play a really accurate move, queen to e7. And this is the only move that preserves equality for Black, because now he protects this square with 2 times, which is very important, because if he doesn't play queen to e7, then if he plays probably a foolish move like this, you can retake, and now you have an open line for your queen, and you threaten future checks with your queen, and you threaten to simply conquer this square for your knight. And if your knight ever comes here, you will have a great game as white. So, in this position, knight to g5 was the best move for Habib, but he played bishop to g5, sorry. Now he only helped black to move his queen on a better square, unfortunately, so black did so. And now Habib developed his rook. This is a solid move, a future investment, so to say, because he lined up his rook with black's queen, and he threatened some nasty pins and discoveries in the future. So, a good move. And black now plays a move that is simply not the best in this position. e4, pushing the pawn. It seems like a good move at first, and I'm not surprised black pushed the pawn, because it seems that he forked two of white's pieces. But Habib was ready for this. He has a few ways how he can cope with this threat. Unfortunately, Habib chose the wrong one in the game. Stockfish says Habib had a great move here and a great way to win the pawn, or to take black's bishop, which is very important. So, I wonder if you can see the move that Habib can play here to eventually put a lot of pressure on this pawn and to solve all of his problems. Well, the move Stockfish recommends is knight to c3. Now this pawn cannot move, because then black loses his queen. And what can black do here? White is attacking his pawn 3 times. This pawn will fall eventually, and probably black would maybe even have to take the knight. And this would be fine for white, because then you simply say thank you very much. You take the bishop, which was a very important defensive piece for black, and now you open up this line also for your rook, and in this position you're still pressuring this pawn. So in this position, white is better. That would have been fine for white. But unfortunately, Habib didn't found knight to c3. Instead, he played bishop to c4. He gave check, thinking that in this way he will eventually save his knight and he will gain some tempo. Unfortunately, this isn't such a good move, and now black is the one that has slight advantage after this move. Nothing serious, but just a slight advantage for black, because now black blocked in the game and white took. Black retook with the queen, and now there's one obvious move that white probably has to play in this position, and Habib played the move knight to d4, attacking the queen and still preserving this knight, and this pawn can still not move because the rook is threatening the queen. So in this position, black had a fine move, queen to d5, a beautiful move, forcing white to take the knight, and now black would have taken with the pawn, and again force white to trade queens in this position, because white cannot move his knight, because then he loses the bishop, as you can see. So white would have to trade queens in this position, and then we would have this position, which is beautiful for black. He has a strong center with the pawns. He has a beautiful bishop that's slicing down, and white's knight is still attacked. So this would be a much better position for black. But black didn't found those moves. Sorry guys. In the game, black played the more obvious move. He simply took with the knight here. And this is also still fine for black, because now white has to retake with his knight, and now black has another beautiful possibility to gain advantage. I wonder if you can see it. I'm not surprised Habib didn't thought about this possibility black had, because it's not so easy to see the combination black has here. And the move is queen to f7. pressuring this pawn, threatening to take it with check. And as white, you have to protect from this threat. You have to play e2. This is the best move according to Stockfish. But now you allow this move. Rook to d8. And what can you do as white? Well, you will of course take the rook, but now black retakes the rook, and he will eventually take this knight. There is no way you can stop him from taking your knight. Nothing really helps, because if you play a move like this, trying to stop this pawn from ever coming here, black has this move, and he will win the knight nonetheless. So this knight will fall because it's pinned to the queen, and black will have a better position after this. So black had a possibility to win 2 pieces for the rook. He didn't saw this possibility, and I'm not surprised because it's not all that easy to spot this possibility. So let's go back to the original position of the game. In the game, Habib attacked the queen and black played queen to e5. He thought he can pressure the knight this way and force it to move maybe and then take this pawn. But that wasn't the best plan for black, because now he allowed white to consolidate, and here it's equal. Stockfish evaluated this position as equal, but now white has a chance to play for a win. And he did. Habib played great from now on. He first retreated with his bishop, adding more protection to the knight. Black now continued with his plan. His plan was all along to pin this knight and to try to win this knight, but now it's too late, because the queen isn't on f7 anymore, and this is very important. White has a way to defend these threats, and now he plays c3, adding protection, opening the line for his queen, threatening future checks with the queen. And black now plays his biggest mistake of the game, probably. He pushes his c pawn, thinking he just can win this knight, but he cannot do this, because white has a simple reply. Habib gives check with his queen, and now the knight is saved. Not only that the knight is saved, but also the knight can now come to this beautiful square I was talking to you about before. So, a big mistake by black. The best thing to do for black here would be to block with the queen, and now white would take the queen, black would retake the queen back, and white would have this beautiful move with the knight, threatening to take this bishop or even this pawn, and this is a better position for white. So, in the game, after Habib gave check, black played the other alternative he had. He moved his king, which is the worst, not the best way to cope with this. The better was to block with the queen, but okay. And now white played the obvious move, knight to e6. The knight finally comes to this beautiful square he was hoping all the game that he will come to. So he's forking 2 rooks. How can black save the rooks? Black found the way to save his rooks. He pushed the c-pawn, attacking the queen, but now white simply takes another pawn and wins the pawn. Now black attacks the queen. That's the only way to save the rooks. White has to move the queen, and now black moves his other rook, and he saved his rooks, but at what price? At the price of a pawn, and not only a pawn, but he will now lose his very important defensive piece. Habib plays the best move here. I would say the best practical move. He takes the dark squared bishop away from black. And black is now simply losing. Stockfish evaluates this position as 3.6 up for white. And why is that? Because now you must retake with the knight, and now white has this simple yet very effective move, bishop to d4, putting a lot of pressure on this line and eventually pinning this knight until the rest of the game. This knight will stay here forever and it won't be able to move. So this was a great move by Habib. Now black retreated with his queen. And Habib exploits this position even further by playing another logical and sensible move, pushing f3. Why? Because the pawn is pinned. He wants to win yet another pawn, and this is a sensible play. What can black do in this position? Not much. There's not much black can do. There are too many weaknesses in his on the board for him. These pawns will eventually fall, and his knight is pinned. So a tough position for black. Black tries something with queen to h4, which is a mistake essentially, because now he allowed Habib to win the game instantly uh, with the move queen to f7. So this was the best move for Habib in the position, because now you threaten checkmate, and whatever black does, if he defends this way, you simply take this pawn, and you will also take this pawn, and you will double up rooks, and you're winning. There's nothing black can do. Habib in this position didn't play queen to f7. He played another good move, which also wins the game eventually, but not as fast. He played rook to e3, hoping to double up rooks on the e file. Now black took the pawn, because what can he do? White now took back with his rook, and he's threatening to double up now on the f file. And what can black do? Well, it's really hard. He tried with the rook to c7, trying to defend this pawn and add another protection to this square, because this square is critical. But better move here was rook to g8, letting go of this pawn, because this pawn will fall anyway, and adding the protection this way. This would have prolonged the game a bit. In this way, we had rook to c7, and now you allow white to double up. Habib takes his chance, plays pragmatic chess, and now he's threatening checkmate with the rooks if he ever comes to f8. So black has only one move that can prolong the game, and that's queen to d8. So now he's stopping checkmate for a moment, but white plays the best move again, rook to f7. And now you cannot stop white from gaining material advantage in this position. First off, what can you do? Well, black played rook to g8, which is a losing move. He could have prolonged the game by taking the rook, and afterwards white would take back, and now black would have to put his rook on g8 to protect this square further, but white would play queen takes on b7, and white would eventually win the knight and the rook. Now black is forced to push his pawn to give his king some breathing space, and after white plays this move, black has to give up his queen, because otherwise he will get checkmated. And now we have a completely winning position for white. So that was the way for black to prolong the game and to defend from checkmate, but black didn't saw these possibilities. In the original game, after Habib played rook to f7, black played, as I already said, rook to g8, and this loses instantly, because now Habib finishes off in great style by playing first bishop check to g7, great move, and now you must take as black, and Habib now simply checked the black king, and there's no way to stop checkmate in this position. You can give up your queen, but you will get checkmated anyway. Black tried to block with his rook, but now you can all see the move. A great finish by Habib, checkmate, and a fine way to finish the game. I must compliment Habib for playing a solid chess game, for winning in a nice way, and for taking his chances. As for black, I hope he will look at this game and learn from the mistakes he made. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked the video. Also send me your own games so I can comment and analyze them. See you guys next time.